Welcome to Rick's Corner, where we talk wrestling. Hi, and welcome to Rick's Corner. Today I have a special guest, the Navajo Warrior, and he's been wrestling for how many years now?
Oh, going on 19 years.
Oh my God, 19 years. That's almost my age because I'm 20. Now, you and I had matches, a couple. We had them here locally, actually.
Yes, we did.
Years back, and that was a lot of fun. And let me ask you a question. When you got into wrestling, what inspired you to become a wrestler?
Honestly, what inspired me was going to my first live event. I went to a local event in Phoenix, Arizona, and it was the AWA, and the main event was a battle royal. So I got to see all the guys from that time that were in the AWA, which were, and Hulk Hogan caught my eye. Just watching him interact with the crowd and just being Hulk Hogan. Yeah. And this is pre-Hulkamania, and that hooked me. I was like, I want to do that.
What were you doing then? Were you in school or were you working or what?
I was in school. I was in grade school, and so my mom said, "Hey, let's go check out the wrestling event." And cool. I saw that, and then from then on, I was always watching it on TV and saying, "Yeah, I want to do that when I grow up."
You had to find somebody to train you, obviously.
Yes.
And I have a lot of people that write in that are around, or they write to my emails and they say, "I live in Tennessee, I live in Ohio, I live in Kentucky. There's no schools here. Where do I train?" And I tell them to just Google it and see what they can find. Or go to a live event, an indie event like we all have, find somebody there that has experience and maybe they'll train you. What did you do to get your training going?
It's kind of a funny story. I was actually working, I graduated high school, I was starting college at ASU, and I was working part-time at a movie theater. Mm-hmm. And I recognized a guy that came in to watch a movie that I used to watch on TV. Yeah. So, of course, I introduced myself to him and asked if he was, who he was, and he said, yeah. And I said, "You still wrestle?" And he said, "Yeah, I do. Actually, I run little indie events in Arizona." Yeah. So he invited me to a show. Mm-hmm. I went and watched the show, and he ended up putting me to work as his ring announcer didn't show up. Oh boy! So he said, "Can you ring announce?" Yeah. And I said, "Sure, I'd be more than happy to." I did that, and then I got all antsy,
Yeah,
so
of course.
Watching the guys in there in the ring and noticing at that time, I always thought I was too small. It's like I see the guys on TV. I'm like, there's no way I can do this. I'm too small. Yeah. And I saw the guys that were on the show, and some of them were my size or smaller, some bigger. So after the show, I asked him, "How do I get into this?" And he told me, actually, there's a guy in California that runs a school named Bill Anderson. He has a school out there in California.
Bill. Good
and
man.
Bill was on the show. And he said, "But I can train you here myself. I don't have any students, so it'd be just one-on-one." And so I went with that instead of having to travel to California.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's another problem. People say they want to come train here, and I've had people from France and from Italy and from Spain and all over the place for a couple of weeks. But it's hard if you're not living near somewhere where you can train. It's really a tough thing. And I try to show them things on YouTube that we do here in class that's constructive, and it's not jumping off roofs or hitting people with chairs. And many of the questions like, do you go off the top rope? And no, we don't really do that here. We're doing old school hold to hold. Mm-hmm. We're doing spots on the ropes. We're doing a lot of selling, character development, mic skills as well. The top rope stuff, I said, save when you're actually doing a show and you want to try something. That's the time to do it.
Yeah.
That actually works better than practicing it, because in practice you don't have your whole adrenaline going and you get hurt. Now, what are your feelings? Because a lot of kids write in, and if this is something they want to do, what do you suggest they do as far as learning? Don't you think it's best to learn the groundwork first?
Oh, definitely. It's just like building a house. You have to have a strong foundation, or else it's going to fall over. And so it's always just learning the basics, the fundamentals, the hold-to-hold, how everything gets put together, how everything works, and especially the mic skills, all of that, the storytelling. Yeah. Then, once you have that down, then you want to start learning the high spots and, those kind of things.
That's right.
When you're ready for your matches.
Right.
In the meantime, until you're not ready for that, work on the basics.
That's right. I mean, it's you can't jump ahead of yourself. I have some kids that come in. I mean, I have the young kids here that are great, but other ones that start out and they're just viewing that top rope and thinking they're going to try something and suplex somebody before they even learn how to bump, and end up hurting somebody and breaking their neck. And I don't want to see that happen. But there's, you should always go after your goals and your dreams. If this is what you really want to do, number one, I say go for it. Number two, still stay in school and have a future, because this doesn't last forever, as you know.
That's true.
You get injured, and luckily I was able to do it till I was 58, but still, it's hard on the body, and you got to have another avenue, because so many guys at 35, 40 years old quit the business or they get hurt, and then they say, "Oh, now what do I do?"
Yeah.
What am I going to do with my life? You know, you've got to have some sort of profession or a future or a job.
Yeah.
And don't put all your money into this thinking you're going to be a WD superstar. Because in your mind, and you know, how many people actually make it to WWE?
Oh, it's a very small percentage of the people that actually, you know, get involved in wrestling. Just a very small percentage make it. Right. And so, you know, it's a lot of different things to get you there. It's not just knowing how to wrestle. It's a combination. You know, it's the look. You know, you got to have that total package.
Total package.
You know, and right now wrestling is so much more cosmetic than it used to be.
Yeah.
You know, and back when I was growing up watching it, it was big burly guys that, you know, they look like they could rip your head off.
That's right.
And now it's guys that look like fitness models or, you know, swimmers.
Yeah, and that's one of my pet peeves, because when you started wrestling and when I started wrestling, guys, you could spot them on the street.
Yeah.
You knew Freddie Blassie, or you knew most of the old school guys, even before me. They just had a certain look with their Hawaiian shirts, and they were big guys, and they could hardly walk. They had that wrestler walk because of the injuries. You knew they were wrestlers. Now today, like you say, fitness models, a lot of them look like they came out of the same mold.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, and I hate to sound stupid or sound old, I can't tell one guy from the other. I watch it and they'll say, "Did you see so and so and this guy?" And I say, "I don't know who's who." I mean, they all come out and they look like they came out of Muscle and Fitness magazine.
Yeah, and you know, in my opinion, like I said, it's just my opinion, but it's the guys that look different, that stand out.
Yeah.
And they're not exactly the best built guys.
I'll tell you one. Fit Finlay.
Exactly. Yeah, Fit Finlay. Mike Knox, who was actually one of my students.
Yep.
He's just got a crazy look to him.
Yep.
And Umaga, when he was there, big difference. You know, he stood out. Even as far as Bubba Ray Dudley, Mark Henry, guys that just look different, you know, and they look like wrestlers.
That's my feelings too. I mean, you've got to look the role, and a lot of people today, and you know that. And the indie shows especially, they don't bother to go to a gym.
Yeah.
They put a T-shirt on, a pair of jeans, and call themselves wrestlers. They don't even buy boots, half of them. They want to wear sneakers, and I just think that's taken away from the business. That's almost disrespectful to what I did and guys before me as we started out. It was always boots and tights, show your body, meat sells, you know, that's what we're selling is flesh, and you got to take pride in it.
That's true.
And the other thing I wanted to say to you're going to see our class tonight. You're going to see these kids, these 12-year-olds. They're training really hard, and I've noticed the thing with them is their personality, their respect for one another has really changed, and they're learning, as far as learning high spots in the ring, has helped their skills in school for memorization, and the mic skills have helped them in public speaking.
Well, that's good, yeah.
So it's a real plus for kids, because a lot of mothers will call me and say, you know, I don't want my kid to get brutal and start beating people up because he's a wrestler. And I said, that's not what this is about. This is about self-control, stage presence, and learning the business and the entertainment business. And the skills you learn could be used if you had to, but we don't use them that way. We use them for show.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it does help. And myself in Arizona for a while, we were doing school fundraisers. We would go to elementary schools, junior highs, and put on a wrestling event. And at first, it would get met with a little hesitation. You know, they're worried, oh, you're promoting violence. Yeah. And once they saw the show, they realized, oh, no, you're actually telling the story of good and evil, and, you know, cheaters never prosper, those kind of things. And it's showing the kids, you know, basically black and white, good versus evil. Good's going to come out, you know, ahead. And so it works, and they've had us come back every year since then. You know,
I agree. That's exactly a very good concept. Now you're not wrestling as much, and you're working. You want to tell them what you're doing now with WWE?
Yeah, actually now I'm working with THQ, the video game company, on the WWE wrestling game license. So I'm still involved with wrestling. As far as in the ring, I'll still wrestle every now and then, but for the most part, I'm traveling on the road with the WWE, getting everything you need for the video games.
All right. Now, that's a good example of once you retire from wrestling, you want to stay in the business. He stayed in the business, and he's doing WWE with games, and he's still involved. So there's always a way to stay involved with something without being in the ring.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a really good point. Well, I don't want to run out of time here, but I am, because I only get 10 minutes on YouTube. But it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I'm really glad that you came today. You're going to watch the class and give me the interview, and it's really good to see you. And I miss those old days. I wish we could get back to it. But you know what? Maybe someday. One more time in the ring. Don't let my wife hear me, because she doesn't want me to do it.
Oh, wait. One more time. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Thank you so much for coming.
It's
been a pleasure. Okay.
And
that's it. Next week on Rick's Corner, we'll have somebody new. Thanks for tuning in.